Well, at first glance, looking at this weather map, it looks pretty normal. But what I think is interesting is what's happening in the upper levels, especially across the North Atlantic into Greenland as we head into January. It's such a strange setup, and I think it signals big storms. They're not showing up yet. That's the problem that I'm seeing. And listen, when you get this much blocking up across Greenland, when you see heights really rising this much, look at this lobe of the polar vortex that's displaced here. It's completely disconnected from what's happening across the Arctic. Does this mean a colder January? I'm telling you what, watch out during this time period. When you look around, there could be some other things with the EPO, the WPO. We could get into the North Atlantic Oscillation, which, by the way, this is a strongly negative NAO. It could be too cold. That could really suppress the storms. But with this type of setup, watch the southern side of this. This type of cold wants to bring storms up the East Coast. Okay, this is textbook right here. I don't have to go too far into that, and just to tell you, it just looks a little too strange to me. That's wild. We've not seen this in quite some time. It may be one of the things that starts to begin the breakdown across the West, where many of you are hoping for some colder weather. I do think out ahead of this, there could be some really warm weather too. So big swings on the way into January with this really, I'm going to say it again, it's a strange setup. It's not what we saw last year by any stretch. Much colder across the Midwest into the east today as the cold temperatures drop in. Warmer up across the prairies of Canada as we displace some of that cold air off to the south. Temperatures a good 50 in some cases, arguably 60 degrees colder than yesterday. I think the high in St. Louis was 78, and we're waking up today in the teens. Colder weather, these are 24-hour temperature changes. You're going to feel it as we head into Tuesday morning further to the east. Maybe not as shocking, but we're definitely getting much colder. Here's a wider look at the weather map today. We're going to look at the entire country at once, then we're going to look at the temperatures and the snow. Try to do it in order today as we move along pretty quickly. There's your strong low moving into Canada. This brought all the wind and snow into the upper Midwest. It's going to continue to bring lake effect snow through the day today and windy conditions into the Great Lakes all the way down into the southeast. Wind advisories out as this high pressure builds in, pushing that cold air all the way down to the Gulf Coast, pushing showers all the way through Florida with the front clearing the peninsula as we head into Tuesday. Back across the west, this ridge is just going to dominate the weather again heading into Tuesday, into Wednesday. There is some moisture trying to get closer to shore as we head into the 31st. This may bring some precipitation into California, into the far southwest. We're also at the same time watching a clipper system diving in from the northwest. This is going to bring some light snow across the prairies, down into the northern U.S., the upper Midwest, into the Great Lakes. Eventually, this could kick off a second round of lake effect snow that could be significant by the time we get into the weekend. Maybe some areas getting more than 30 inches of snow around the Great Lakes over the next 7 days, maybe 10 days, as this impressive cold holds on. Across the far southwest, that moisture is showing better signals of a better sign, though, I should say, of sticking around, and it's becoming more likely at this point. Snow levels are pretty high, though, with this, but high enough that there will be some snow into the Wasatch, into the Colorado Rockies. We're staying cold in the east. Another disturbance swinging through, enhancing that cold and lake effect snow heading into the weekend. A weak disturbance will start to move across the south. That'll bring some showers through Arkansas, Missouri, into Tennessee, and to North Carolina, Georgia, down into Florida too, and we stay cold in the northeast. Snow levels do start to drop, at least it looks that way as we head into the next week or so, say Sunday into Monday, into the northwest with this next disturbance that moves in. And now we get into the unknown. Okay, this is when you're going to start to see that blocking way up into the high latitudes. I think at this point you start to spill some cold back into the east, into the central U.S., The operational European puts some moisture into the southwest, but there comes that lobe of really cold air. And now, what happens on the southern side of this? What's going to be up here in the northwest at this point? What's going to be happening here in the southern stream of the subtropical jet? Do we get something to come together and phase and dig a little deeper? Because it's going to be completely blocked to the north. And that would cause it to dig and really start to yank something back here into the east. More to come on that. I don't know at this point. I just don't know. Anybody that's telling you they know? No way. Not at this point. But again, the signs, the textbook look of this blocking pattern, certainly there. And this is a period of time I think we need to watch. And the models are having a really hard time grabbing onto this and doing something with it. Me too. All right, let's continue this out. That's actually the end of that run. So again, what happens beyond this? A lot of questions. I'll be tracking it all winter. Maybe not what you want to hear today. I don't have all the answers. Promise I'll be honest with you with that and not try to hype it and tell you like I know exactly what's going to happen, but I do look at the pattern. It looks interesting. Here's a look at your temperatures across the country. Pretty cold across the west, although the week, I think we start to see a warming trend, especially as we head into Wednesday. You'll see temperatures maybe 5 to 10 degrees warmer across the west. Here across the central United States, here's a look at your highs as we head into the afternoon. 40s into Texas, much cooler across the Midwest, into the plains. That cold air really targets the Great Lakes. We do see some warmer weather starting to build up to Oklahoma, up into Kansas, back into the 40s and 50s now as we head into Wednesday. And we've got 60s returning here into Texas, also into Oklahoma. And the cold gets reinforced again across the upper Midwest with temperatures barely getting above zero again on Thursday. And it stays cold up into this region at least through Friday and Saturday. Further to the east, the cold is moving in, and it's going to be another chilly one heading into Tuesday. That cold pushes all the way down into Florida. Highs in the 40s, Jacksonville, back to Destin, even into the 30s up across northern Mississippi and Alabama for highs. Overnight lows getting down into the 20s. We may get near freezing into North Florida. A lot of 30s, especially as we're moving that air right down the peninsula. And then high temperatures as we move into Wednesday, a little bit warmer, back up into the 50s and 60s, but look how cold it's staying here into the northeast around the Great Lakes. With that cold air moving across these open waters, lake effect is going to be kicking in. These are a look at your wind gusts, extremely windy around the Great Lakes today, into the Appalachians, the Ohio Valley, high wind warnings, wind advisories in effect. These are wind gusts. They'll be over 60 in some places, especially here into the ridges of West Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. Those winds do start to back down some as we head into Tuesday. Still windy into the northeast, and then much more calm, I think. Still a little gusty and brisk at times heading into Wednesday, though. Here's a look at your snow through Tuesday. Some of this already falling with our storm that's pulling away, but the lake effect will really start to add up over the next couple of days. Another clipper system, again, pushing some snow a little bit further to the south, a couple of inches possible with it across Ohio, Wisconsin, into northern Indiana. There could be a significant snow, though, here in the mountains of West Virginia, western Maryland, and parts of PA. But that lake effect is going to get impressive here downwind of Lake Erie and Ontario and Huron up here into parts of Ontario, with some areas arguably seeing close to 2 feet of snow. A foot of snow looking likely now through Friday here from Ashtabula County, north up to Erie, Dunkirk, up to Buffalo, not quite into Buffalo. It's going to be really southwest of Buffalo as those bands come in out of the northwest. And then here across Lake Ontario, decent snow, close to a foot, in some cases maybe close to 2 feet of snow as the lake effect season kicks up into full gear with this type of setup. Here's a look at your snow further to the west. Some of that dropping down into North Dakota, Minnesota. Light amounts with these clipper systems. That will put a little bit of light snow into cities like Winnipeg. But further to the west across southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, tough to get much snow here. Also into Montana, downwind of the mountains, not much snow over the next couple of days. And out west where the snow has been, well, it's been a very lackluster snow season for sure. These were snow totals through Friday. Very little snow into the Sierra, a couple of inches into the mountains, into the Cascades. Not looking good here. Snow up into British Columbia, more snow, which, by the way, it has been an incredibly snowy season across Alberta and British Columbia into the mountains here. That moisture has been, that fetch and that setup has just been starving the Rockies, has just been dumping on the Canadian Rockies. Here's your snow all the way through next Wednesday and Thursday into Friday. There are some chances for moisture into the southwest. I would just say it's not off the charts. And here's a wider look at the pattern across North America over the next week or so. You can see that cyclonic flow clearly here across the Hudson Bay, just parked and feeding that cold air into the northeast. Across the west, we've got this big ridge. What's interesting, though, is this energy off the coast. How does that impact what's happening across the northwest? Well, we do try to bring this low closer heading into Friday. That pulls some moisture here into the northwest, into California, put some moisture into, again, the upslope areas could see some decent rain and snow out of this type of setup. And then another piece of energy tries to spin into the northwest as we head into next Monday and Tuesday. We'll have to see how all that works out. Still looking way down the road at this. The big Aleutian low here. Is it going to be strong enough to put that moisture? Is it going to dig enough to bring things into California, into the northwest? I don't know. You're going to be fighting a couple of things. How can this dig into the west when you have this huge, big cyclonic flow here with a massive block across the North Atlantic? I don't have that answer, but that looks weird to me. And I think the models, again, are having a hard time grappling with this. More to come. See you next time.